Imposter syndrome is brought up really often in medical school, and it can be defined as consistent feeling of inadequacy despite evident success. And these two feelings combined can produce chronic self-doubt in many students. Just my personal thoughts on the matter, I do believe it is indeed real. I've been in and out of it for the past month or so now, and it really started during orientation when people were relaying back their undergraduate institutions. Because for a class of 160 medical students, we only come from 57 unique institutions, and most of them being the top 20 schools in the country. And when you're at your school, you're kind of used to being on this side of the curve, but coming into medical school, you might be here after the first exam, and sometimes even here. And I really can't stress this enough, but P equals MD. No, it's not a math formula, it's just a pass of the curriculum will still get you the degree that you're seeking. That being said, you still need to really work your butt off to pass an exam. And speaking of that, how was exam one? This first exam was a new testing format for me, specifically in that it was online and in an environment of our choosing. I personally took it in a library, nice quiet space, on a tablet. You can also do it on the computer or any other device of your choice. And they enabled Respondus Lockdown Browser, which just prevents you from essentially cheating. It records you as you're taking the test. You can't switch tabs to look stuff up. Pretty efficient system. The curveball with this exam was that I was informed it was 120 questions, and we got an email the day before saying it was 80 questions, which leaves less room for error and thus making the test more difficult. Despite all that, I will link a box plot of some sort down here. The average was an 86, which is pretty high. That is not common from what I've heard from older students. Typically ranges in the high 70s to low 80s. So 86 for the first exam is pretty high. And the way the passing criteria works is that it's either 2.25 standard deviations below the mean, which in this case standard deviation was around 5, so it would have been like mid to high 70s just to pass, or a score of 70 is the flat baseline, whichever is lower they usually take. In the end, I did pass, which is great. It's just a sense of getting used to not obtaining those high 90s anymore in terms of grades. I think this experience definitely changes my outlook on how I'll study. I might use Anki more often and maybe not spend so much time on cheat sheets and maybe focus on doing more practice problem to get better at synthesizing material as opposed to just purely memorizing and not really internalizing any of the information. Right after an exam, there's a lot less going on, so you can use this time to rest and de-stress. There's not really anything to study for, and you could study ahead, but that's not really a popular option since we have a lot of other things that we juggle as students. The week after the exam, it's pretty light on material, maybe 2 to 3 lectures max, sometimes none at all. So take this time and get back into the things that you haven't done in a while. Maybe work out with a run or a nice bike ride. Take care of your body. Our school actually provides a Headspace subscription, which is a meditation app, which I think is pretty considerate. Have responsibly distanced social hangouts. Watch the Lakers maybe choke a game. Binge that TV series that you've put on hold for a bit. And reach out to your fellow classmates who may be feeling overwhelmed, because at the end of the day, the only way you'll all get through this is together. Lastly, I just want to note some interesting experiences I've had with the in-person part of the curriculum. I finally had my in-person ECMH, which was great. The clinic is in an underserved area of Chicago, and where health literacy is fairly low. And it was a great experience getting to apply what I've learned in taking vitals on patients and giving nutritional counseling. I got to practice taking systolic, diastolic, and really hearing those Karatkov sounds, as well as doing the rest of the physical exam. I also learned how to use electronic health records. It varies by clinic. They can range from Epic to Athena and a bunch of others that I can't list because the list goes on and on. But I did learn how to use Athena, and it's essentially a portal where you can input patient symptoms and prepare them for their appointments, make notes of medications and past surgery and things of that nature. The anatomy portion was supplemented with a in-person pro section. So the initial lecture was live streamed as someone dissected the body and pointed out important structures to us. But we had the option to sign up for an in-person viewing of cadavers and try and identify the objects themselves. And another good supplement to that was the use of Complete Anatomy, which is a software that can essentially render a complete human body and the various layers, which is really supplemental to learning. There was also an ultrasound session in which we got to practice on each other, on the wrist, not the stomach. That'd be kind of weird, but it was pretty interesting. I'll insert a little snippet right here. Just finished ultrasound lab. Pretty cool. So we practiced with the transducers, the gel, kind of reading on the screen. The setup here is pretty nice. So you can kind of see over there if you're the patient, we just practice on each other. You can change the depth, the gain, which is kind of like contrast. You can find color to see like what's flowing towards and away from the transducer. But yeah, overall pretty good experience. Thanks for tuning in. That's all I have for you this week. And upcoming, I'd like to cover a little bit about getting involved in research, as well as some study habits. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.